I'm going to share some of the most common negative what ifs I've heard from athletes that I coach. And I really want to focus on what you can do to prepare so that you are proactively working against those things happening. And so you can just have the best opportunity for the best training and the best outcome on race day. So something really common that I hear is, what if I can't get through my long run this weekend? And I think people, when they're looking at their marathon training plan and looking at as a whole, this is a really common thought. Maybe they're not even running 8 miles yet, and then they see on their plan that they're going to have to run 18 or 20 miles later, and they're just constantly thinking about, how am I going to be able to do that? Or when that particular run that seems so daunting is coming up, you're concerned that you're not even going to be able to make it through. So here's how you can best prepare. Do the training that is being asked of you as prescribed. If you do every week as prescribed on your training plan, the outcome will be very positive. I promise these plans that are put together, as long as they are good plans, they are allowing your body to acclimate so that you can get to that mileage. The other big thing with getting through a long run successfully is making sure that you're not going out too hard. So you can best prepare for a good outcome by starting very, very well at the beginning of that long run, meaning that you're going into it very well fueled, you slept well, you didn't go out the night before, and you know that it's supposed to be an easy pace run and that you need to start very easy, knowing that really you can't go too slow on these guys, these slow, easy, long runs, and you can always pick it up at the end, right? If you're feeling great. So always start slower than you think that you need to. That is one of my best tips for overcoming, getting through the long run, and feeling like, if you have this information, that you can go into it as prepared as you possibly can be. Number 2 is something that a lot of runners worry about, including myself. What if I can't hit these speed paces this week? You maybe wake up, it's your speed day, and you're just really, really worried about how it's going to go. So you can best prepare by 1, getting really quality sleep. That's going to set you up for success on those speed work days. 2, having really good nutrition from day to day is going to set you up for success as well. Doing your training as prescribed, that's going to help allow you to make those adaptations in the body to be ready for those faster paces. And most importantly, guys, you may not think of, is go easy on the easy days. 80% around that of your running should be at an easy pace. And if you're more running in the moderate zone, you're not going to hit your paces on speed day. So if you're seeing that you're struggling to hit those paces on your speed work days, really look at your easy days and how you are approaching those. And if you're not going easy enough, that's a big, big reason why you're probably struggling to meet the speed work on the speed days. And number 3, this is a big one, and it is valid because running injuries are very common, but it's, what if I get hurt? So I think especially people who have maybe been running for a long time and have been hurt in the past, this is a common fear. If you're newer and you've never been hurt running before, it may very well be that you think that you're invincible. So even if this isn't a worry that you have, you definitely want to listen in so that you make sure that you prevent these common running injuries. So the best way to make sure that you don't get hurt is some of the things I already said. Sleep. Sleep is your number 1 recovery tool, guys. Not stretching, not foam rolling, not dynamic warm-ups, but actually good quality sleep and sleeping for a long enough time. 2, having quality nutrition. That doesn't mean you need to be perfect, just overall, you are fueling appropriately. You're getting enough to eat that you have that energy to burn when you are running all of those miles. 3, strength train. Any runner who is building up mileage and consistently running a lot and training for a big event should be supplementing with some sort of strength training. And guys, it does not need to be rocket science. I think this is what a lot of us think. It can be very simple. Like, you're really just doing the same exercises from week to week and just building on weight as you continue to get stronger. So just be consistent with your strength training, and that's one of the best things that you can do to keep injury at bay. And lastly, don't do anything dumb like going hard on your easy days. Going hard most of the time will absolutely 100% result in you getting hurt. So if a big fear of yours is getting hurt, make sure that you are doing all the right things to ensure that your body is staying healthy. This doesn't mean that a 100% an injury won't happen. You can do all things right and this can still happen because running is just a tough sport. But if in the end you know you hit all of those things I just said, you did your best, then you can't go day to day worried about getting hurt. All right, so those negative what ifs were really more training related. The next ones that I'm going to talk about are really related to race day. Now, you can't start preparing for these soon enough, so make sure you're listening to these even if your marathon is still 18, 20 weeks away. Preparation starts from day one. And if you are very close to marathon race day, there are still absolutely things that you can do to make sure that you have a great race outcome and do the very best on the day. So starting with, what if I have stomach issues? This is really, really scary, especially when sometimes like in the media, you see someone have some big bathroom issue that the world becomes aware of in a marathon. And just because sometimes we just don't know how our stomachs are going to react. And you guys have to remember those things are very, very few and far between. It's also a very normal fear, but it's rare. And most of your races are going to have plenty of porta potties along the course. So nothing like that is going to happen to you. But beyond that, just what if your stomach feels disgusting and awful and you're super, super scared of it getting in the way of you having a good performance? That is also a valid concern. This happens to people. So the best thing that I can say, so the earlier on in training you can practice your nutrition, the better. So keep practicing different things for fueling each week, each long run. Speed work days are also a great day to practice because you're asking a lot from your body on those speed work days, even when the mileage is less. So practice and find what works for you. Don't worry yourself what everyone else is doing. Absolutely take tips and use those to try to find what works for you, but everyone is unique. So just because it works for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So practice, practice, practice. This is the best way to prepare for making sure that your stomach feels great on race day and you have the energy that you need to get through it all the way, even when it gets really, really tough. All right, the next one, guys, is really out of your control. And so my biggest thing here is just try not to worry about it, but you can still be prepared. And that is what the weather is going to be on race day. So should you be looking to forecast for your upcoming marathon? 100% yes, you need to prepare accordingly. If it's going to rain, make sure you have the right type of gear that's going to get you through a rainy marathon. Pack the poncho. It's better to be safe than sorry. This is what I did for Boston. Just knowing the weather is super unexpected always. I had that poncho ready to go just in case. Luckily, I didn't need it. If it's going to be super, super hot, hopefully you have done some heat training before that you've been purposeful about running in the heat and not always jumping on the treadmill when it's hot. So that's a big tip for you for in the future if that doesn't apply to you right now. But again, if it's going to be hot, you need to think about how you might have to do things a little bit differently to ensure that you are hydrated well, that you have enough electrolytes, and again, having the right fueling as well. And what are you going to be doing in those days leading up to make sure that you are fully hydrated when you get to that start line? And maybe it also means, how are you possibly going to change your pacing plan? Because if it's going to be super hot, you're not going to want to go out maybe on those faster paces that you had originally planned. Maybe you need to slow it down even more conservatively of what has been suggested to you. So you've got to plan accordingly for the weather, but at the same time, it is completely beyond your control. There's nothing that you can do to change the weather. So just try to have a positive mindset at all. Remind yourself how lucky you are to have a body that can go 26.2 miles even when the weather isn't good. And I know that's hard, but essentially this is all you can do, and just know you're going to go out there and do your best under the circumstances that have been given to you. What if I can't hit my goal pace in my race? This is certainly one, guys, that I've been very nervous about, especially as it gets closer and closer to the marathon. And I just have to keep reminding myself that I did the best training that I knew how to do. I worked incredibly hard. I did everything that was prescribed. And so that's my recommendation to you early on. Do what is on your plan. The more you miss, the more likelihood of you not being able to hit that goal pace. Even if those calculators say you're capable of that, if you don't do the proper training, you're not going to be able to hit that goal pace. For a marathon, you have to train extremely well. You have to have the mileage on your feet. You have to have those long runs so that your body can handle what is necessary for running that far. And honestly, guys, it's really important to just be realistic here. Is your goal pace realistic for you? use those calculators I've suggested, like Macmillan or VDOT. See if it's actually realistic based on some other times that you've done and that you just haven't pulled something out of the air. That's why I have that video about don't just guess your goal pace. You need to have a good idea of what your body is capable of at this moment in time, and then plan accordingly. Have a pacing strategy that goes along with this really, really well, that you know you need to start out slower in order to have a faster marathon. And when you combine all of these factors together, go into race day, plan accordingly, have that pacing strategy that's going to get you to your goal, and just give it your all, give it your best, and end the marathon being proud that you put in all you could give. So number 7, what if I hit the wall in the marathon? And again, that's going back to how this can affect your goal pace too if you hit the wall. And so here are my 3 biggest things on this that I have separate videos about that you guys can check out. Number 1, you need to fuel properly. You need to fuel properly by carb loading in the upcoming days. You need to make sure that you have enough carbs, that you're taking enough in during the marathon. This is huge. You need to pace appropriately by not banking time. If you go out too fast, you will absolutely positively hit the wall, and you do not want to do that. So make sure that you pace appropriately, go out conservatively. And number 3 goes back to your training. Another big reason people hit the wall is because they actually haven't trained appropriately. They haven't done enough mileage overall. They skip too many long runs, whatever it might be. And by skipping that mileage, skipping those long runs, they are not physically or mentally prepared. And when you get to that 20-mile, 18-mile wall, whatever it might be for you, those are the reasons that someone's going to feel it. So definitely prepare by those suggestions, and you'll have the least likelihood of hitting the wall if you do those things. And lastly, I think with marathon runners, one of the biggest fears is, what if I DNF? What if I do not finish? No one wants to go through the marathon training and then have the race and then not finish the marathon. That is a very scary thought, especially those of you who are new and you've never run a marathon before. That's your number 1 goal a lot of times, right? You just want to get to the finish line. Well, here's the deal, guys. Like 99% of you will get to the finish line, whether it's in your goal time or not. You're going to get there. In fact, I have this little snippet from the New York Post that's talking about specifically the New York City Marathon. It says, marathon officials say that about 1.3% of the more than 50,000 participants in any given year don't complete the race. So guys, your chances are very, very good that you are going to finish the marathon. The biggest things that you can do to prepare are some of the things I already said. Make sure that you give yourself enough time to prepare. Make sure that you're actually doing the training that you are supposed to be doing that's going to get you to the starting line healthy and have the mileage that you need to physically get through the marathon and mentally prepare as well. Set up those mantras. Remind yourself of why you're doing this, because guys, the marathon is extremely tough. It will be hard to get through it, but you absolutely can do it. Knowing that most of the people that get there will finish, I think is just really, really helpful to get you to know that you can do it too. And in the end, guys, there are certain situations, I will say, where it is the best thing to pull out of a marathon. It's very rare, but you also need to take care of yourself and remind yourself that if you do end up in this situation, there will be other opportunities. So quick story, guys, very sad, but my husband did not finish his first marathon, and it was really, really heartbreaking to watch him go through that, but he was incredibly sick at mile 24. It was a very, very warm marathon, and it would not have been smart for him to try and finish that. But luckily, 3 weeks later, he found another marathon and he went and he finished his first marathon. So that's the whole other thing, guys, is try not to worry about it, knowing that this is just one moment in time. The likelihood of you finishing is very, very high. And if you were in that small 1 to 2% of people who didn't finish a marathon, this is not your only shot. So just remember, guys, go out there, give it your best. And in the end, that's all that you can ask for yourself, that you look back and you did the best training that you could have done for you, that you attempted that marathon the best you could with the information that you had and what you know to do, and look back and be proud of everything that you accomplished. Now, no matter where you guys are at in your training, whether you haven't started yet or you're possibly way at the end, there are options for you in terms of getting help with some of these things that maybe seem overwhelming to you. So I'm going to put my coaching information below if you're interested in one-to-one coaching. And if you are someone who is coming up on race day and you just have a lot of burning questions about how to better approach the race, or nutrition questions and how to fuel appropriately, I also just do straight 1-hour coaching sessions for people like you, and you can reach out about that as well at the same link. Would be happy to meet you and help you with your goals. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.